I don't actually know if there's a stream of astrology in a termed sort of sense to what I like to study. It's sort of a mix of psychology, of science, um, spirituality, and slight aspects of traditional astrology. I don't like to focus on one more than the other too much, as I see them all being in combination, and all of them having their own part, and in essence, they all have their own parts for study. But I do like to see, when you incorporate all these things together, I like to look at the strengths and the limitations of using these different practices or these different elements to a study of essentially who we are. Some of the strengths I would talk about is with when it comes down to using astrology for a tool. We can see that regardless of who we are, what time of the day we were born, of which year, of which month, um, it's not so much to make us feel like we're better than anyone else. It's really just to show how amazing and how full of potential we are on the whole scale, and to see how our potential and our functions and how we can serve in the greater scheme of things, which doesn't mean we should all be of service in one respect, like more traditional religions will show or tell, but it shows more how we can be of service to the whole by becoming and adjoining to our niche in life. So, and that niche being where our affinities lie, what we're naturally good at, mixed with where our interests are. So that, and as well as meeting all parts of ourselves. If we look at a chart as being a display of all the different energies, all the different thought patterns at work, we can see that each person has all these traits and has all these possibilities within them, that really there is no one particular trait that we have. We may have a set or fixed understanding of who we are, or what we always resort back to. That's sort of our center and where we will come back to. But in terms of in daily life, we'll express everything on some level, whether that expression is actually in our verbal or facial expressions, or our expressions being our observing nature of other people that have those traits and characteristics. So at the end of the day, a part of us always wants to be whole. They want to experience everything. That part that is within literally every single person that will not differ. That's the one part that will not differ between any of us, is that need to be whole, or that need to feel integrated, and that no part is missing. As well, if we see that we can put directions and possibilities out there. So whether or not we want to take anything too literally, generally the less we take of the language as being a literal component, the more chance we have of growing and experiencing. We really just tend to throw out possibilities so people can either experiment with those traits, or want to reject whatever it is and then have to see what happens when they reject. So either way, it's contributing to some form of growth. As well, it also shows that there has to be, and that they're really underlying all things, is a meaning within all events, and there is a relationship between us and every single thing that's known to mankind. There is nothing that separates us so much so that we are completely disconnected. We literally, especially if we're living in this time, we all possess, every human being will possess up to, I think, 3 billion strands of nucleotides, which are the most essential element in the makeup of our DNA. So if all of us have this particular makeup and we're just expressing different genes, then really in terms of potential, we all have that same potential. And it's just up to us to release whatever it is, or whatever we choose to. Also, astrology does provide room for contemplation, reflection, thinking about what we have done and where we're going, and slowing us down in a way that makes us question the things that aren't necessarily working for us, and makes us want to experiment with the things that grab our interest, or the things that seem to give us that little bit of of joy or excitement, or that thing that makes us life worth living. The limitations, there's definitely limitations, and that is nothing fatalistic can be determined, especially death. That's part of the moral code of astrology. Moral code of astrology is death should and cannot be predicted. Again, with finding a soulmate or the one, there is definitely tools to show a resonance or an intermingling of different energies or characteristics that might suit an individual. But in terms of like exact timing and the exact names and the exact types of people, I would say that it comes down to more wishful thinking and the belief that something like astrology can do that for you. By predicting, we're actually creating the possibility of making something happen. Also, one way and definite specific answers. Any astrologer will only give their interpretation. It will be a mix of the objective practice of what astrology, the purpose of why it's here, as well, or our knowledge of it, as well as our personal interpretations due to our experiences and even how we've perceived the objective practice ourselves, how we relate to planets and cycles. And it's going to be in our own expression of these relationships that will really show our level of understanding, or how we can in any way assist anyone that's asking for our perspective. Also, division. If we focus too much on owning one particular aspect and rejecting any others, we will create that division, and if anything, we are creating more of a polarity than not. And that sort of goes, it sort of runs opposite to what we really want to do if we're really trying to become whole and trying to move forward. And also, by knowing things about ourselves and by being very aware of the workings of things, it doesn't necessarily take us away from things happening to us. We still will be affected, and we still will be experiencing all different types of lessons and all different types of change. However, our awareness can only help to provide a knowing that things are moving the way that they always have. And it's not that we don't become a god. We don't become a god any more than the person next to us. But the word for a god, or the word for becoming enlightened, is generally just becoming aware of these processes. Okay, so that's my general take on the limitations and strengths of astrology. There's a lot more I'd love to talk about, so if anyone would like to throw any questions out there, I'd love to share my perspective on anything, and I can look up any sorts of information, any of the books that I've had from the past that can help towards anyone's understanding. But for now, yeah, I'll say konnichiwa, sayonara, and I'll get on to something else now.